It's the best advice I've gotten, and that's because it's true.
Probably wasn't good for like my kidneys and like everything else to do stuff like that.
There is science behind these types of growths in women competitors because the fluctuation of your hormones is crazy.
My own personal story with my last reverse, because it did not go well, and I kind of want to give some experience of what not to do.
This is your first show. You really, really have to be careful.
We talk about like restoring gut health, diversify your food. I think that that's really important coming out when you're reversing.
Oh, I've earned this, right? We don't have to earn food.
If it does happen, you can still get back on track. Just don't try and like fix it. We are here to talk about reversing out of a show. I feel like this can be applied to just reversing out of a cut in general as well. But out of a show, it's just extra important because obviously that's like to the extreme of putting your body into a place of like extreme fatigue, extreme hunger, cutting down your body fat, all of those things. So there's so many different reasons why you have to reverse out of a show correctly. I'm going to give kind of the basic rundown of what that even means, and then kind of give like my own personal story with my last reverse because it did not go well, and I kind of want to give some experience of what not to do and why. And then Brandy and Erikka and Chapple are also going to share, the most important things to them about the reverse, their knowledge on it as well. And we're all going to kind of learn from each other and our experiences on here. So if you do have a question along the way, feel free to put it in the chat or just kind of hold on to it until the end, and we'll kind of flow through this and then answer questions at the end here. So what is a reverse? It is the structured process of coming out of a show. So when you get to a show and you're most likely just really low food, really high cardio. I know that our team does feed people into shows, and we try and make that last week, that peak week, as relaxing and low stress, low cortisol as possible. However, you're still ultimately going from really high cardio, a lot of movement, a lot of fatigue, and really low food. And what do you do after you come out of that show, right? So ultimately, you cannot just go back to like eating whatever you want. And there's so many reasons for that. There's we want to first and foremost get you back to a healthy place. And there's going to be a lot of things that have changed with your hormones along the way. You're going to have really heightened like hunger hormones when you come out of this. And so doing that in a very structured and slow process coming out of that. And again, other coaches, I'm going to do like the very just basics on this and then let y'all kind of layer onto that as you want to. But we want to get your hormones back to a good place. And if we just yank you from low food, high cardio, high fatigue into just eating whatever you want and no cardio again, those are really big changes for your body. And that's going to throw your hormones in a completely different direction and not the direction that we want to go in. There's also, the risk of putting on a lot of body fat all at once. Your body is just craving sustenance and food and wanting to get back to that maintenance level. And so if you start just eating whatever you want, first of all, there's the risk of binge eating is really high, because you might start eating and your hunger hormones are going to be telling you to just keep going to get you back to that maintenance level, which is very far away from where you are at the time, right? So you could start eating and just not be able to stop, and you're sitting there telling yourself, one more bite, and I'm done. And, you're trying to stop, and it's really just, it's a really bad situation to be in when your brain wants you to stop, but your body is just going to keep going, and there's so many things that can happen along the way with that too, because you're coming from also a place of looking really, really good, right? And we all know or maybe some of you don't quite know yet, but we all know the mental aspect of being in prep in the first place, of you probably look better than you ever have, but then your brain tells you that you're not ready yet. Your brain tells you you're flat, or, you'll look, you'll feel like you look jacked in the morning, and then all of a sudden by the afternoon you're like, why do I look so small? So it's already such a mental game that you have to play in prep, that if you then accidentally put yourself in a situation where you start eating and you can't stop and you're binge eating, that's going to play with your mental health as well, because you're going to then probably look in the mirror, see things that aren't there, and then it's going to maybe even put you in a place of wanting to have other eating disorder tendencies, or fall into an eating disorder of some kind. So we have to be really, really careful with those things as well. But also what comes along with that binge eating is just excessive fat gain. And that's not healthy. It's not only is it not something that you want personally, coming from where you just were, to have to then work that fat off of your body, but it's really not healthy for your heart or your lungs or any of your organs for you to put on that much weight all at once. And that kind of ties into what I'm going to tell you about my reverse story from this last year. But yeah, there's so many different aspects that go into it, and I'll let some of the other coaches give their knowledge on some of those things. But there is just so many different reasons why we want to come out of that reverse correctly, which is by tapering that cardio down and then slowly bringing that food back up, so that we can slowly and in a structured way bring your body back to where it wants to be for maintenance. And if you do it correctly, it can be extremely fun, because you feel super strong, you look really good, you're going to put on muscle very easily coming out of that like really, really low body fat state. So doing it correctly can put your physique in a really, really good spot, especially if you want to compete again the following year in the future. You're not going to have to do as much work as if you put on so much body fat that you then have to like bring that back down, or just kind of deal with it in the building phase, and then you don't feel good about yourself during that phase too. So but yeah, so that's the very basic level of it, is we want to taper that cardio down, we want to bring that food back up. I'm going to get kind of into my personal story and then tell you what things I wish I would have done differently, and then I'll hand it over to Brandy to give you her take on all of this. So last year, I really just wasn't in a good spot mentally. And I think that prep helped with that, because I was able to just take all of my focus and put it into my lifts and my food and winning this competition. And so that's what I did. So I didn't really realize the extent of how much stress I had going on in my personal life until the end of the show. And I'll get into what I wish I would have done differently there. But basically, one of the biggest things I wish I would have done differently is I kept telling myself, last year, the PA muscle was on August 10th. And I kept telling myself, I was like, August 10th, August 10th, August 10th. Prep is over August 10th. August 10th, I get to eat. And I just kept repeating that date in my head over and over and over again. Instead of, and Anthony told me so many times, like, hey, you're still in kind of like prep mode, like staying on that diet plan for 2 months after. He told me so many times over and over again, like, you're going to be on a plan still. We have to taper out. We have to reverse correctly, all of these things. And he told me over and over and over again. But what I was telling myself was different. And I was like, August 10th, August 10th, August 10th. So I really wish I would have picked a date 2 months after the show and repeated that date to myself instead, and been like, hey, no, I'm still in this. I'm still in this. And like repeated that to myself. So that was one of the biggest things I wish I would have done differently. Because when I hit that end date, and first of all, if you haven't experienced this yet, I know everyone like posts their videos about eating like cookies and all this food that they want to eat the night after you get on stage. Just so you know, if you eat a ton of food while you're in that state, your stomach's going to really hurt. Like, I don't have gut issues most of the time, but I went ham on like cookies filled with peanut butter covered in chocolate. We went to Telus, we had dinner, and my stomach hurt so bad I couldn't even sleep that night. Like, I was so bloated. It was terrible. So I wish I would have chilled a little bit on that too. But after that, I did have one more show. So it was kind of, it was a last minute addition to that because we qualified for nationals. So then all of a sudden I went from August 10th to 3 more weeks. And that was a really hard 3 weeks because I then had to switch my brain back into it. And it wasn't a great time. Still tried to do the best I could. After that show, I literally just stopped checking in. I again had so much stress going on that I started eating, and eating was my comfort. I no longer had my entire focus on the shows or being in prep. So again, it didn't matter how many times Anthony told me how to do it correctly. He had my reverse plan to me before I even went into the first show. So I had all the tools I needed there. So one of my biggest recommendations with this is if you do fall into some sort of binging pattern, or you feel like that happens, the first time it happens, tell your coach. Like, just say something to someone anywhere, because I didn't. And then I was allowing myself to continue to do that. And I was like binging food on the way to buy more food. And then I would buy the food and I'd eat most of it on my way home and then order Instacart, and I'd still eat, and I couldn't get myself to stop. At first you look really, really good because you're just like refilling your body. And then all of a sudden it kind of hits you all at once, like what has actually happened after a couple weeks. And 2 or 3 weeks after the second show, I had already gained like 33 pounds back. And that was not fun. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I felt. And again, my mental state at the time didn't realize what was happening until we hit that 3-week mark. And I stepped on a scale, and all of a sudden in the mirror, I looked different, and clothes weren't like, it was almost like it like suddenly happened and I couldn't fix it. So, luckily I ended up taking a trip to Texas for a couple months. So being in someone else's house, where it was almost like what stopped me from doing that was I was too embarrassed to sit there and eat food all day in front of other people. And they kind of it was my grandparents. So they were the ones cooking lunch and dinner anyway. So it was really good for me to go there. So I kind of had this like built-in like saving grace that just happened to get me out of that. If I didn't, I really honestly don't know if I would have kept going and made it even worse over time. So again, like my biggest recommendations is don't have your show date as like, you're like, that's the end date. That's the end date. That's when I'm out of prep. Put that date a couple months out. If you need to, schedule some photo shoots. So you're like, oh, I got to focus in on like being on par with this or whatever you need to do. But then also just like being honest with your coach, keep checking in. Because that's really, really important that someone knows what's going on so that they can kind of help you through that. So, yeah, that's my experience. Luckily, when I did start talking to people about it, a lot of people have gone through this. So there is a lot of support in this space to talk to people about like so many bodybuilders I've talked to are like, oh man, I screwed up this reverse or that reverse, and have that experience, which is unfortunate that it's happening to so many people, but it's also good that there is so much support. So don't feel like it's something that you have to hide from people in this sport. It's unfortunately a normal thing to mess up at some point in time, but we do want to help you get through that as best we can, which is why we're even doing this call. So that's my run through on everything. Again, if you have any questions, let's put them in the chat or hold them till the end, but let's have Coach Brandy speak on her knowledge on the subject.
Every single thing Taylor said, I wrote down today. So I won't repeat a bunch of that, but what I want to start with is it's a dangerous combination of things, and that's what gets you in trouble. You're done with the show. Restrictions are lifted. I mean, they shouldn't be because you should be on your reverse, but you know that it's over and you're not worried to be overweight on stage. So in your head, you're like, I'm good. Then it starts with one meal that night. Then you're like, oh, we're going to breakfast tomorrow. You know what? I'm going to finish out the day. The next thing you know, like Taylor said, it's like a week later. Then it's a month later, and you physically cannot stop. So your restrictions were lifted. Your metabolism's all kinds of altered from being on prep, and your hunger cues, you can't trust them because you will literally be able to eat, like Taylor said, until you're sick. I did a show before Christmas one time. That's not the best idea. Then I remember my work had like this bougie cookie thing that I was in charge of. I'm not joking. I kept the extras and ate those things off like boxes off the top of my fridge for probably a month and gained like 25 pounds. No lie. And here's the signs. You ghost your coach because you're ashamed and you think you're loving this. You're hating yourself at the same time, but you don't want anyone calling you out on it. So that's the first sign. When you get done with your show, you're done with your coaching. I did that too. Then, you stop checking in. You're isolating yourself. Like Taylor said, you're eating stuff you don't even crave or want anymore, and then driving and eating it on the way to McDonald's to get like a meal to take home at 11 p.m. I mean, it's stuff that you never thought you would do. Then I want to talk about some of the ways you can try to control this. So if you have a coach, you have a reverse diet. They do reverse diets in all kinds of ways. There's percentages that are kind of generic. I've heard like 250 calories up the first week. There's all kinds of different things. But set your cheat meals just like you would do in a regular off season, and otherwise stick to your meal plan. Because if you think you're going to intuitively wing it after a show, it does not work. I'm all for the meal after the show. That's fun. We all do that together. Even like the next morning, it's kind of cool to be able to go out to breakfast. But if just say that's on a Sunday, Monday, back at work, back doing whatever you do, back on the regular diet. Then plan, your untracked meal for Saturday or whatever it is. Another thing is you think because you've done this for the show, you'll be able to stop it and lose the weight. In my experience, it was like 10 times harder the next time and 10 times harder than the next time. And it's like, all I ever wanted to do was look how I looked on stage that day. Why am I going back to where I'm literally having to lose abdominal fat? That was always like my standard. As long as I had a flat stomach, like I was okay. But then I didn't have it. It was like full on abdominal fat. And I let myself get back there 2 times. And I believe in the power of food. Like food is medicine. So if it could do that to me, if this is your first show, you really, really have to be careful. Then this is just one more personal thing I wanted to add. After this last show, I wasn't feeling well. Went to my doctor. I think you guys have probably seen this on my social media, but I had a 5-pound fibroid mass that I had to have removed. Well, the surgeon, she's an amazing cancer surgeon. They didn't know if it was cancerous or not. She's a marathon runner. So she was a super into athletics. She was all about bodybuilding and wanted to know everything. She was lecturing me on reverse dieting over the years and that fluctuation in weight. I mean, I would go to like 170 and then be 130 on stage, stuff like that. She said there is science behind these types of growths in women competitors because the fluctuation of your hormones is crazy. So she said, my show 3 years prior, this thing was probably growing all that time. When you get lean, you can't tell. I literally thought it was my bladder. I didn't know what it was. So until I got sick, she said, you really need to pay attention to the fluctuations in your weight like that. So I thought, ooh, I wish I would have known that before, because obviously I had to get a very serious surgery and a hysterectomy with no warning. Okay, let me look at my notes here. Oh, another thing people do, and I did, when you stop following your reverse and you really go off the wagon, then suddenly you're not going to the gym because you don't feel like you want to work out when you're eating like that, and you don't fit in at the gym anymore, which is crazy if you're a competitor. So it's, again, a combination, going completely off the wagon with your diet, not going to the gym. It's like an identity. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be, but it is for me. So then you don't know your identity anymore, and it just trickles into every aspect of your life. So just trust me on this. Keep it tight. You're going to make mistakes, but just reach out for help. And you can avoid the years and years of problems. And you worked so hard to get there. Like, this should be your baseline. You shouldn't go back to like the, overweight, any of that stuff. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, just echoing what both of these ladies said, I mean, it rings true exactly for me as well. I've gone through many of the things you all were talking about, and it's so common. And I think that when you're reversing out of a show, when you're talking about the levels of hunger, your body is just trying to upregulate itself. It wants to be healthy. So your ghrelin levels, the thing that tells you that you're full, are
Mhm.
so skewed. So you don't have a really good internal gauge of like, I'm full. And so that's why it's just simple like chemistry in your body, right? Like those levels are not there yet, because you're down regulated so far low body fat. So you won't get that full feeling. You can just keep eating and eating and eating, is because your system is so sort of dysregulated. And I think it takes so many weeks or months after your show to get regulated in order to get your bodies back to really like, am I full, am I not full? So one of the things that um I think is really important, and so when I had my old coaches, they didn't even give me a reverse diet. Like I was just at it by myself. My new coaches, it's very strict, and I think that is so important. And that's because one of the rules that my coach suggested to me after when I'm reversing is to completely avoid sugar. And of course, you're like, you sort of like take offense to that. You're like, I suffered, I suffered all of these months, and you're telling me like I cannot have sugar. Like, yeah, right. But the truth is, when you really think about it, um, it's so true. Like, sugar is so addicting. And the problem with sugar is that, again, you will never be full. Uh, so you can, you can just keep eating it and eating it and eating it, and you'll never feel like satiated.
Mhm.
So avoiding sugar is probably one of the best tips that post show for a couple weeks that was given to me. And I think on social media, I'm so glad Taylor came up with this idea to do this, because I think it's such an important topic that we talk about this stuff, and it's not talked about enough. And on social media, I see too, like somebody mentioned, like people, like competitors, eating their like big huge cupcakes and stuff like that post show. And it's just, I think we need to be mindful about how we're representing bodybuilding in a way that is not detrimental to people's mental health. um Binging on like high sugar things post show is not a good example to be setting for people that are new to bodybuilding, because it's unrealistic. I'm going to be completely frank with you and 100% with you. Like Taylor said, my first show, I've been doing this a couple years, 3 4 years. My very first show, um I ate a lot of sugar afterwards, and I had a super bad stomach ache, and you're going to get like vomiting, diarrhea, like it's so bad. Like don't do it. Your stomach is not ready for all of that after your show. So just like just remembering that, and just kind of keeping in mind too, like um you know um that your body is just not quite there yet. um the other thing I wanted to mention, what do I have written down here? Oh, vacations. So the other no that I did was I basically went on a vacation. Like Taylor said, you will get this date in your mind. You're like, I just want to feel good because you're so down regulated, right? And you just want something to feel so good. So you're like, I have this date in mind. I'm going to go on vacation. I decided to go on a vacation for a month after, because I was like, I am ready to eat all the things and do all the things that I missed out on. Right. And that was like literally the worst thing. I still trained because I love training, but I stopped my cardio and I just ate whatever. And I don't really eat unhealthily. The problem again is your ghrelin is skewed and you don't really know when you're full. And so you can just keep eating and your body fat actually comes back a lot faster than you would normally. So you have to be really careful because again, your body is trying to go back to healthy. It's trying to protect itself. And so it puts on the body fat as a protection, but it comes very quickly, quicker than normal. So having a good reverse diet plan is so important to like ease yourself into what you're doing. And don't plan any vacations immediately after because you don't want to glorify this date in your mind because it psychologically sets you up for this huge I'm free, and it's not a good place to be. You have to slowly reverse your way out, and then when you're out of it, you'll feel so much better. You'll be able to eat and feel satiated and all of that. The last point I wanted to make, or at least talk about, is, I hear people say, they kind of give bodybuilding a bad name, oh, bodybuilding causes eating disorders and all of these things. And I'm a clinical therapist, those of you who don't know me, so I'm a little bit qualified to talk about eating disorders and all of that. But so my take on it is that eating disorders, as with any other disorder, are a factor of nurture and nature together. So when you have a predisposition to something, it's there. So your eating disorder would be there before you started bodybuilding, if it was there. Bodybuilding does not cause eating disorders. It doesn't cause any of that. It could have existed beforehand, and then the factors of your bodybuilding prep perhaps brought it out. So that's one of the things that I just wanted to talk about, is I feel like a lot of people give it a bad name, and because we're tracking food and it's obsessive. It's the same way with any other clinical diagnosis or disorder. The same way, if you think about a good, maybe not a good comparison, but somebody could, a combat veteran can go to war and experience things that other people have not experienced, and some people can walk away from that with PTSD, but some people don't. It's simply just nature and nurture together. So everyone is different, everyone handles stress differently, and so if you're experiencing these types of things, just talk to your coach about it. It's all very normal. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I got to clean this up. You guys killed it. There's really not much else to say. So I'll just tack on. I don't need to get into my stuff. I think you guys all have done it. I gained 25 pounds over a weekend, my first show, so it's really not that hard. Then my ankles were all swollen, and it was really bad. Now I'm looking at them yeah, that probably wasn't good for my kidneys and everything else to do stuff like that. So yeah, stupid mistakes. Take your time. Okay, so I think a good time when you're reversing is if you want to have different foods, it's a really good time to diversify your food. Most people are on meal plans. We talk about restoring gut health, diversify your food. I think that that's really important coming out when you're reversing. I wouldn't say splurge or anything, but you can start making some substitutions when you're eating. That might be your little treat, just subbing in different types of carb sources, different types of vegetables, things like that, but just start diversifying a little bit. Let's see, you guys touched on everything. You talked about the hunger hormones and resisting, and I would just say when we first got on here, Brandy, you said you were hungry, right?
Yep.
You're getting to that point, you're hungry. Think about how you got there and just understand you're going to have to continue the process. The process is not over. And that's been repeated by all of you. But you're tough enough to do it. You're proving you can do it right now, but you just have to continue. And I promise it gets better, but you just have to continue the process, trust the process. Because your body's going to want to go to homeostasis. It's trying to right now, but you're so disciplined right now. You're eye on the prize. You don't even care that your body is fighting for homeostasis. All those hunger hormones, you're just I don't even care because I got a goal in mind. You got to have that same mindset. So mindset is everything as you are, reversing out of this thing. You want to kind of keep that mentality with you a little bit. let's see here. Okay, I do want to talk about the sugar because I'm like a real big person on that. You said avoid the sugar. That's probably like the best advice I've ever heard. And you guys all talked about the people with the cookies and everything. It is no joke. Like you can eat sugar forever. How many times have you been sitting at dinner and you eat a huge dinner and you're full and they're like, "Do you want some ice cream?" And you're like, "Yeah, I can fit some ice cream in there." Like, why not? Because you can always have sugar. It doesn't make you full the same way. So I think if you just avoid it altogether for a few weeks, I think you'll do good. If you do get hungry and you feel like you need to eat a bunch of more food, like eat some extra protein in a meal or something like that. And I do think like the open communication with your coach is so important as well. I just had somebody who competed recently and I got a text message. Yesterday was awful. I went to McDonald's. I drove home. I went back to McDonald's. Then I went to the grocery store and I got a pint of Ben and Jerry's. And then I did this and did that and did this. But I was so grateful for that. I go, okay, that's cool, but we gotta reel it back in. Make sure you do your check-in tomorrow anyway. You're scheduled for your check-in, put it in there. His weight was up a bunch. I was like, hey, listen, like I got to give you just a couple days of like a little bit lower here. I can't have you spiking your weight like that. But I think the communication is key. Like don't run away from your coach if you have those splurges, and don't skip check-ins either. Like if you have a bad night the night before a check-in, still check in and just be like, hey, I had a bad night. Just the honest feedback is going to be the best thing that you could do. But yeah, you guys pretty much hit on everything. That was good. I love the no sugar thing because I was going to say that and you totally stole that one from me.
Sorry about that.
No, that's good. I'm glad whoever told you that was a good move.
Yeah, my coach told me that this year, and to be honest, I was a little bit like upset about it. I was like, wait a minute. Wow, how long are we talking here? Because like I seriously have a sweet tooth, but honestly it's the best advice I've gotten, and that's because it's true. When you think about it, you can eat and eat and eat all the sugar, and it's never enough. It's not.
Well, yeah, there's a dopamine hit from it.
Yeah.
Like you literally get a dopamine hit from it, so then you
Yeah.
want more of it, and the hormonal responses with like your hunger and your satiation and everything like that. I mean, yeah, it's definitely the move to go to avoid it, and then the insulin spikes and everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, that about sums it up. Y'all killed it.
Yeah, thank you guys for all of that information. That was perfect. I had a couple of things that came up to mind, and then we'll open it up for if anyone has any questions. I think I saw one maybe come through, maybe not. So things that came up while I was listening to y'all talk about everything, which I love all of that, like so many things. But one of the things that I remembered was keeping all of your other habits on track as best as you can. I love how Erikka said, don't like just all of a sudden plan this vacation like the next day, because especially around like 2 weeks out, peak week time frame, your routine goes from being very, very, very solid to all of a sudden like your coach is making changes every day, and maybe you're messing with water, maybe you're taking certain like carbs out, or like the last week you might not even like day of, you're not having vegetables, some of your supplements are taken out. So there's so many changes in your regular routine that I feel like if you don't make it a goal to like, if not the day after the show, because again, like go eat your breakfast, whatever, if not the day after, but like it needs to be the day after or the second day after your show, make it a goal to be like, I'm back to hitting my water. Try and keep going to the gym at the same time, or your cardio at the same time as it was before that peak week or the week before peak week, and keep as much in order as you possibly can, because like it does get a little bit screwy during those 2 weeks and then the show. So bringing that back will really help you bring the food back into check as well. I did want to talk about if it does happen. So if it does happen and you do all the things we just tried to warn you not to do, like don't beat yourself up about it. Definitely have accountability for yourself. Go back to your coach if it's been a while, talk to them about it. But again, what really helped for me, and I kind of like was lucky enough to fall into this because I go back to Texas every winter for Christmas anyway. So that was kind of already planned. It wasn't like a vacation to Mexico or anything, but I was in a house and they were controlling lunch and dinner. So that was really, really helpful for me. And I did feel that like I didn't want to go back into the gym because I felt heavier, right? So I did feel that I had to talk myself out of that. But there is a gym there I really, really love. So I was like, I'm going to this gym. And then I would go in and I would just lift really heavy. So honestly, I did bring my body back to like maintenance and lose some of the body fat over those 2 months time frame. But it wasn't like I was intentionally trying to lose weight. It was just 3 meals a day, go lift. I had let cardio just completely go out the window. I'm not going to lie about that. But like, if it does happen, you can still get back on track. Just don't try and like fix it. It's all moving forward. Talk to your coach. You just get right back on a plan, right? And that's like one of the biggest things I hear all of our coaches say all the time is like, when someone's like, oh, I messed up this weekend or I messed up yesterday, just right back on the plan, right back on the plan, right? So just wanted to add those in. Did anyone have any other stories they wanted to tell, or anyone have any questions for any of the coaches?
Can I say one more thing about the cardio?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing fasted cardio now, you might be doing Yohimbine fasted cardio. That is a feeling. I love it, that feeling. If you remove that starting the day after your show while eating crazy, I'm telling you, mentally, you're going to go downhill quick. It's the weirdest thing. Like, I hate to say I love cardio, but when I start taking that out, there is a noticeable difference in like my mind, just everything. So if you can, if your schedule allows, a lot of people are like, oh yes, I don't have to get up anymore. If you can hang in there, even if it's shorter, obviously, still do that for a while. I mean, I would do it forever, but still do it for a while, because we've all talked about that in prep. We're like, man, I miss that like morning Yohimbine cardio sesh. Like, it does something to you. Even if you miss one day during prep, you're like, I don't feel right today. So just keep that in mind. It's not punishment. It feels good.
I love that comment. It's not punishment. Yeah, I completely agree. And I hear people like have that mindset as well. And the same thing with like food too, like, oh, I've earned this, right? We don't have to earn food. Food is food. Food nourishes our body. We're just doing this competition because we want to do it and we have a goal in mind. So just kind of like a mindset piece there.
I love that you don't earn food. My sister says I think she came up with this quote. I don't know. But one of the things she's posted before is, why do we reward ourselves with bad behavior? Or why do we reward ourselves with the things that got us into that spot in the first place? So like, I'll see people go on these, like, even just like prep aside, competitions aside, go on these diets or do the 75 hard. And they're like, again, with that end date, going, oh, this is the date I'm going to go get pizza and beer. And it's like, why would you go through all of that to reward yourself with like the worst thing that probably got you in the spot of wanting to do something that hard in the first place, right?
You ever see a type 2 diabetic get cake and ice cream when it's like their birthday or something?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, why not be like, wow, I made this. This is awesome. I made a new life for myself. I look amazing. Like, my reward to myself is that I'm going to put myself in a position to continue looking this amazing moving forward and to build really good muscle so that I look even better after a few months after this show. Well, does anyone have anything else they would like to add or ask about anything?
So I have a sweet tooth, like really bad. So when you get that attack that you just want to have sugar, like, is it okay then to like binge on some fruit, or like what's something to help you kind of get through that?
I would say throw a piece of dark chocolate, like a square of dark chocolate, in your mouth and just let it sit there and just take your time with some like dark chocolate. I would say that is probably the best thing that you can do if you need to really satiate that, but just really take your time with it. Like, those little squares that they have, break that up into 4 and just like just take your time, because that could probably stave it off. And there's benefits to having dark chocolate too. That would be my advice. Does anyone else have anything better?
What I
Yeah.
like to do, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I like to do like something like that, but I'll like break it up and put it into a Greek yogurt. So then I have like more of something, ice cream, but like a little bit of the sweet thing, but protein too.
I can totally relate to the sweet tooth thing. I also have a sweet tooth. I love sweets. But one of the things that I've tried or that I think works too is, well, the dark chocolate works really well, but finding something else that'll give you a dopamine hit, because ultimately that's what that is. We want to feel good. And that's what a sugar craving is. We want to feel good. So if there's something else that, you really enjoy doing or brings you a lot of happiness, try that. Like that can also, in addition to the other things folks mentioned, finding something that'll give you that immediate dopamine hit kind of the same way.
Rick, were you going to say something?
Yeah, as far as the sugar goes, I feel like most people have a sweet tooth. I struggle with it as well, but I mean, it started from when I was a kid and I was fed candy and nonsense, and then got it and binged on it and everything else. But it's chemically designed to make us want more of it. So regardless of what we try to do, that's always going to be there. But like my main reason, other than just gaining information from whenever you two get together, you and Chap, but and the rest of you for that matter, I didn't know the rest of you were going to be on here, is what I mean. But my fear of this was that getting like, once the goal is over, going back to which it's a little different for me because I did it for health reasons. Like my back was messed up and like that's what got me started on it. So like even before we decided to do a show, like I cut stuff out for a long time beforehand. Now, don't get me wrong, we had an occasional here or there. It's not like it is now. But I found that once that sugar and stuff was out for so long, like I wasn't ever really a big fan of peanut butter. And now that's what I miss the most is peanut butter and fruit and Greek yogurt. Once that stuff started getting taken out, I was like, oh shit. But that's my biggest thing is like what keeps I wrote down, so like what keeps your head straight when you're not competing. Like right now I have a goal, and my goal has been to lose weight and get to this area. So after that, is the goal just to try to stay there, or do you I know somebody said something about like setting a photo shoot or something up like that. I'm not real big on that myself, but I understand the thought process there. So like, is it just set another goal, like set it out from there, or how do you? I'm afraid to go back to what I was. We'll put it that way.
So for
I
me,
think that
at
could be
least,
your goal, Rick. I mean, dude, you got abs, bro. Like you look better than you probably ever have ever.
Correct.
I mean, that should be your goal. Like, I need to maintain this look, and I feel good. I don't want to maybe set like a weight cap. You don't want to go above a certain weight. You remember what it felt like to be at a certain weight. That could be like something that you think about as well. But yeah, that would be what I would think of for you.
We were walking through Disney for 25,000 steps yesterday, and I was like, the last time we were down here, weight was a lot different for me, and I was like, man, I couldn't imagine doing this as heavy as I was, which I did it then, but I was also able to eat snacks and carry on during that time. So like I get that as well, but I think I'm worried about it, and just like everybody said, like once you start, you can't stop kind of thing. And that's what like everybody at work that I've got, they're like, oh, when you can eat again, this and that. And I'm like, well, it's never going to go back to just eating junk like you guys. Like it'll be every now and again, go out to lunch with you guys, or to go out for a family event to have dinner. But like my goal is to always be healthier than I ever was before. So And maybe that's what we got there. Like I said, my concern was being that lean and then coming out of that, like being scared to put on body fat, which I know we have to raise our body fat back up health wise. We can't stay there. But like, to me, that just sounds frightening. I guess because it's so hard to get down here. I mean, and as far as the him being fasted cardio,
Yeah, I think that that's a really understandable fear to have. And that I think Chap's right. Like that can be one of your biggest goals is I don't want to get to where I am before. So I'm going to do the reverse exactly how he has it listed on the plan. Right. But in terms of like motivating yourself to stay on it, I use all sorts of different reasons and goals. And sometimes I use them all in one day. Sometimes I use a different one on each day. Some days I go to the gym because I'm like, I need to for my health. Some days I go because I'm like, Chap took the time to program this for me, so I should probably do it. Sometimes I go because I want to look really good. Sometimes I go because I want my butt to be bigger. Like sometimes, so I have all of these different reasons I use. And something that's been helpful for me in the past is writing down a list of every single reason why you should, when you want to stay on the right track with this. And so it can be everything from health to I want to look good naked to I want to be able to walk around Disneyland for 18 hours without stopping. Like, no, take that one off. But like write that list down. I've put notes in my fridge before. Now I know with kids, you got to kind of be careful with like how you say things. So that might not be an option for people with kids, but like for me, I literally put a note on one of the drawers in my fridge that was like, don't even think about it. Like no going in this drawer anytime soon. So maybe on your phone screen or, a list that you wake up and you read every morning, like, hey, remember, this is what we're on track for.
I think one of the things that helped me was, not staying on your plan, but not also like when you're not competing, don't like restrict yourself either. So like, for example, stay on your meal plan all week and give yourself like one off plan meal per week. It could be cooked at home, it could be out to eat, but just like something to make it so that it's sustainable for you. And you can make it into a lifestyle versus like a deadline, right? Like this is an ending. We're never going to go back to eating Lay's and sitting on the couch, right? Like we can have a couple Lay's, but not the whole bag. So, I don't know, just making it more so like sustainable over a long period of time, giving yourself the mental flexibility and freedom to say, I can eat something different off my meal plan once a week, and that's still fine. I can eat a cheeseburger. And there's so many recipes out there now. You can make cheeseburgers the healthy way, like 95% ground beef, no carb buns. I mean, they got everything. So there's ways that it could be like sustainable over lifestyle.
and the good thing about that is, like, I feel like as long as we're cooking, like right now, we have to meal prep, and even if we get back late on a Sunday, like, I'm up and we're meal prepping. And I think that's kind of like if we cook, we always cook decently healthy. Like we would have like make tacos with ground turkey, that kind of stuff. But it was DoorDash was the devil, because it's so easy. Just hit it and then they bring you everything. And then you don't even have to talk to them. So you don't get judged by what they just brought you. I feel like that's probably the biggest issue. But like even like when we were doing lifestyle beforehand, and it may help me out. Like I said, I'm probably just working myself up about it. But even before we started training for this, like my off meal would have been wings from Wingstop, and not even boneless wings, like the dry rub wings. So that's I think that we're probably in a pretty good spot to go back to lifestyle after this, and that's depending on how these shows go. Right now, we've got a goal after the show in 4.5 weeks. We got another one in 5 weeks out from that. So that's another goal there, and then it'll be time to figure out what we're going to do from there. So at least got 10 more weeks of goals anyway.
All right, guys. Well, I think that was amazing information. Thank you so much for the coaches and for all of you athletes that got on here to have this conversation, because I feel like it's a very important conversation to have. We've got about 2 minutes. Does anyone have any final thoughts that they want to?
I just want to say to Rick that I totally understand the fear of post show. I had a lot of things going on personally a couple of weeks ago where I thought I would not be doing this show in August, and I quickly could not get control of my eating. It was like a solid week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, and I was like constantly texting Brandy, what is wrong with me? I can't stop. Like, my brain, I don't want it, but my body just keeps putting it in my face. So I think I am going to take that advice of not having any like sugary sweets after the show and try to stick to like something really nice and savory for my post show meal, and then just try to keep on track after that.
Very grateful for you guys putting this show on, because like I said, it's been on my mind a lot of what happens post show. Obviously we haven't got there to talk about that yet, Chap, so I'm not putting him out there yet. I know he's got a plan for me and I trust that. So but it has been on my mind, so I'm very grateful y'all put this on. Appreciate all y'all's time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate all of you getting on. This has been great. Very happy with how this conversation went. So if nothing else, I'll let you guys go. I know some of y'all are sleepy and hungry and all the things.
Good night.
Good night. Good
Good night,
night.
guys.
Peace
See
out.
y'all. Bye.